So I didn't get to catch their Amir Imam fight live. And honestly, I've only seen clips. But this is a video I kind of been wanting to make for a while based on what I've been seeing from a lot of prospects. And I've been seeing a lot of upsets of prospects lately, whether it's Showbox, ESPN, you name it. And what I've been noticing is that a lot of these boxers, quote unquote, boxing purists or whatever, they're too neat. They can't win an ugly fight. And when you look back on Bradley's career, you look at some of the guys that he beat and the tools that they had and how he didn't even have much punching power and he was able to overwhelm them, it begins to tell you more of the story. And the story is that they're accustomed, it seems to me, that they're accustomed to the typical boxing rhythm. Like, throwing these combinations. You can even hear them in the gym, and step around and move and everything else. And everybody's not going to sit there and let you unload these pretty combinations with, everything just looks too good. There's nothing ugly about it. And then I begin to think a little more, and it goes always back to guys like Vernon Forrest and Mayorga, probably deeper than that, but I'm definitely not a historian to that level. But you always see these typical boxers getting beat by these unorthodox guys or these pressure fighters. And it's simple. And like I said, my conclusion is they're just too neat. The jab looks too perfect. The right hand looks too perfect. The left hook looks too perfect. And a lot of times, because they're accustomed to their rhythm, their condition is based on throwing a combination and pivoting out or throwing this pretty combination. And it's like the moment the pressure gets to them and they have to move more than they planned on moving, you see them get tired. You see them more stagnant. They don't know what to do. And it seems like to me that the one solution to this problem would be to put pressure fighters or unorthodox guys in with your prospects early in sparring, right? Consistently. Even if they're fighting a boxer, put them in with these guys in sparring. And that may help them out a little bit more. Instead of sending these guys across the country to spar other boxers, it's not making much sense to me. Even you take a guy like Lomachenko and what a guy like Salido was able to do to him. Now, this is a guy who, I believe, in 400 fights in the amateurs lost one, and they say he avenged that loss 2 or 3 times over. And then you throw him in there with a guy like Salido, and he loses. I think his second fight. A lot of these guys are just too neat. Everybody's not going to stand there and allow you to throw off these pretty combinations. Some of these guys, like The Wire likes to say, run red lights. They're going to take that punch to give you their punches. And you'll notice that these same quote-unquote boxers, they begin to tire. As if their condition is based on them dictating the matchup and not based on them getting into a rough and tough, ugly fight. You see guys like Rigondeaux and Floyd Mayweather, they're able to get away with this because they also understand what makes the pressure fighter tick. What makes the boxer tick a lot of times is organization, right? He needs everything to be organized. He needs you to stay at the end of his jab. He needs you to get hit with a combination and cover up or have a certain reaction so he can pivot out and everything else. He's not accustomed to you running through his punches to punch him. Another defensively sound boxer would respect when punches are getting thrown. If he can't slip them, then he's going to block, or he's going to move back, or he's going to retreat in some kind of way so he can maintain his defense. But you have these other guys, these whatever you want to call them. I like to call them pressure fighters. But when you have these pressure fighters and these maulers or brawlers, they take the punch and come forward. And a lot of these boxing, especially at the prospect phase, and I'm used to this. But anyway, back to what I was saying about Floyd and Rigondeaux. What Floyd and Rigondeaux understands is what makes the pressure fighter tick is he wants to impose his will on you, right? So if the boxer wants to box and the brawler wants to brawl, if you don't let the brawler brawl, then he's going to be just as befuddled as the boxer when he has to brawl, right? So if a guy wants to brawl and come forward, and he's going to try to walk through your combination so he can land his own punch, a lot of times when you see guys do a little excessive foot movement, or I'm not gonna call it excessive, but foot movement, that slows down the brawler. And then, okay, I'm gonna move all the way to my right, maybe feint like I'm gonna move to my left, hit you with a jab, move some more. What that does, especially early on, that begins to frustrate the brawler because he needs you to engage. He needs you to plant your feet and try to throw a combination so he can walk through it and hit you. So when you see guys like Floyd and Rigondeaux make fights versus brawlers easy, is because not one, they're conditioned for that movement, for that, I'm not gonna say it's excessive movement, but for that extreme movement. They're conditioned to move all night. Even if it's moving an inch to dodge a punch, or jumping back to dodge the punch to the gut, or what have you, they're conditioned to that movement. So either you're going to tell these prospects, hey, you're not going to be able to be exciting, quote unquote, every time off the bat. Sometimes you're going to have to move around a little bit, pot shot a little bit to confuse your opponent, or you're going to have to throw them in early with some of these pressure fighters because they're not beating them for the most part. I mean, you had the Julian Jackson, the Chef Jackson, I believe that's his name. He just lost. I seen a guy in Broner Camp get destroyed. I mean, I've seen so many guys. I can't even name them. I've seen so many prospects lose to guys otherwise they weren't supposed to lose to. I mean, that's what an upset is. And it's the same common denominator. It's like they assume the guy's going to respect whatever they're doing in the ring. And the moment the guy doesn't respect what they're doing and begins to walk through those combinations and everything else, it's over. It's over. All it takes, I'm not going to say that this is all it takes, but it seems like a busy guy with a good chin is beating a lot of these guys who are more skilled than them. Just a busy guy with a good chin. I mean, look at the Devin Alexander fight. Devin didn't know what the hell to do when the guy began to walk through his combinations. He didn't know what to do. And eventually he folded. And same situation with Amir Imam. Same situation with almost every other prospect that are getting beat by these quote-unquote pressure fighters, or guys that are able to turn the pressure on and off. So that's just what I see. A lot of these boxers are just too neat, and they're really going to have to, one or two options. One, throw them in early with some of these pressure fighters. At least keep them in the gym. Keep a pressure. Every training camp, keep one of these guys in the gym so they can get used to it. Or get prepared to do a little more milling. Get prepared to do a little more moving, a little more pot shotting when it gets rough. Frustrate your opponent first, then come in for the kill a little later. You don't have to keep frustrating them all night and not scoring knockouts, but frustrate your opponent first and pick your spots. And then once he get extremely frustrated, he's getting a little more sloppy, then start throwing those combinations. But when you come in doing it early, I've seen a lot of these guys fading late and end up getting stopped or just beat on points. I'm out.